The Holy Espousals of Mary and Joseph. The Fathers and Doctors of the Church agree that God himself predestined and sanctified Saint Joseph in order that he would be the husband and upholder of the Blessed Virgin Mary, and the father and protector of God the Son, Jesus. Tradition holds that the selection of Joseph as Mary's spouse, predestined by God, was brought out by lot. This recalls the process of the selection of the apostle Matthias in the New Testament. When the apostles were trying to find a replacement for Judas Iscariot, the apostle who betrayed Christ, they gathered and prayed to God for a sign of who was to be chosen, and they drew lots between them.
And they prayed and said, Thou, Lord, who knows the hearts of all, show us which of these two men you have chosen. And they drew lots between them, and the lot fell upon Matthias.
Acts 1, 24-26. When it came to the selection of Saint Joseph, there were gathered a group of young men of the house of David, Joseph among them, one of whom was to be chosen as a husband of Mary. Per tradition, and the saints and mystics of the Church, to discern a suitable husband for Mary, the high priest Zachary, by divine inspiration, recalled how the Israelites rebelled against Moses and Aaron. To convince the Israelites that Aaron was the chosen high priest, God said to Moses,
Speak to the people of Israel, and get from them rods, one for each father's house. Write each man's name upon his rod, and write Aaron's name upon the rod of Levi, and the rod of the man whom I choose shall sprout.
Moses spoke to the people of Israel, and all their leaders gave him rods, one for each leader, 12 rods. And behold, the rod of Aaron of the house of Levi had sprouted, and put forth buds, and produced blossoms, and it bore ripe almonds.
Book of Numbers 17, 1-23. Using this example, Zachary told each of the men of the house of David to bring a rod with his name engraved on it, and the man whose rod blossomed would be the chosen husband of Mary. The event of the selection of Mary's spouse is revealed by Venerable Maria de Agreda and Mother Cecilia Baij.
Among the number was Joseph, for he was one of the descendants of the royal race of David. He was then 33 years of age, handsome and of a pleasing countenance, but also of incomparable modesty, and most saintly in all his inclinations. The Most High spoke to the heart of the high priest, inspiring him to place into the hands of each one of the young men a dry stick, with the command that each asked his majesty with a lively faith to single out the one whom he had chosen as the spouse of Mary. While they were thus engaged in prayer, the staff which Joseph held was seen to blossom, and at the same time a dove of purest white and resplendent with admirable light was seen to descend and rest upon the head of the saint.
Servant of God Madre Cecilia Baij was also given a similar vision of the selection of Saint Joseph to be the spouse of Mary.
Suddenly, Joseph saw his branch begin to sprout and become bedecked with snow-white blossoms. Everyone around him was soon staring at this miraculous sign. All those present now saw a snow-white dove descend from heaven and settle on the head of Joseph. It was now quite certain that of all the candidates, Joseph was the man of God's choice.
Maria de Agreda relates the voice of God in the heart of Joseph.
Joseph, my servant, Mary shall be thy spouse. Accept her with attentive reverence, for she is acceptable in my eyes, just and most pure in soul and body.
And the priests espoused her to the most chaste and holy of men, Saint Joseph.
The importance of the espousals between Joseph and Mary is shown in the words of Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Leo XIII. Pope Benedict tells us,
The espousals between Joseph and Mary are an episode of great importance. Joseph was of the royal line of David, and, in virtue of his marriage to Mary, would confer on the Son of the Virgin, on God's Son, the legal title of Son of David, thus fulfilling the prophecies. The espousals of Joseph and Mary are, because of this, a human event, but determinant in the history of humanity's salvation, in the realization of the promises of God. Because of this, it also has a supernatural connotation, which the two protagonists accept with humility and trust.
And Pope Leo reflects in his encyclical Quam Pluris.
The dignity of the Mother of God is certainly so sublime that nothing can surpass it, but nonetheless, since the bond of marriage existed between Joseph and the Blessed Virgin, there can be no doubt that, more than any other person, he approached that supereminent dignity by which the Mother of God is raised far above all created natures. For marriage is the closest possible union and relationship whereby each spouse mutually participates in the goods of the other. Consequently, if God gave Joseph as a spouse to the Virgin, he assuredly gave him not only as a companion in life, a witness of her virginity, and the guardian of her honor, but also as a sharer in her exalted dignity, because of the conjugal tie itself.